what's up? It's Dr. Showman, and we're here with another spine-tingling horror recap. I just want to tell you that, let's get this out of the way. This show is phenomenal. Amazon Prime did a really good job. You should go watch it if you haven't already. Also, go to my socials and check out all my stuff. And also, by the way, Lucy is absolutely hot. The girl that plays her, Ella, I believe her name is freaking amazing. The series begins in a future version of the US in 2077 when news of an impending nuclear war spreads at a party. A group gathers around the TV to hear about the president's disappearance and the threat of imminent nuclear strikes. Despite the alarming news, the birthday celebrations continue. Then we see a man named Cooper Howard who entertains the children with his lasso skills as they watch in horror. A nuclear bomb detonates, marking the end of life as they know it. People rush to a nearby vault for safety, some man managing to escape underground, while others attempt to flee in cars. Cooper rides off on horseback. Though the odds seem bleak with multiple nuclear explosions, fast forward. 219 years later, we meet Lucy Emlan. She resides in Vault 33, deep underground, and seeks permission from the Council to participate in the triennial trade with Vault 32. Despite her cousin Chet's disapproval, Lucy prepares to meet her prospective spouse at Vault 32's entrance, reminding him of the importance of ending familiar relationships as the vault doors open. Lee Moldiver, the apparent overseer of Vault 32, welcomes Lucy to her new home. Lucy's groom, Monty, seems decent enough, but she's socially awkward and brings up his sperm count during dinner. Much to everyone's surprise, their dinner is interrupted by authorities who believe it's now safe for Monty and Lucy's children to repopulate the surface. However, they warn that they don't know what awaits them. They're possibly including glitches after the wedding. Lucy and Monty get down to business, however. Unbeknownst to them and many others in Vault 33, the neighboring vault is in a disastrous state. Their crops are destroyed, supplies depleted, and the place is in chaos. During this, Lucy's brother Norman goes exploring and discovers the previous overseer has been murdered. Suspicions rise when screams are heard outside, signaling the arrival of raiders who have infiltrated their vault. In the chaos, Lucy fights back. But when the alarm sounds, she knocks Monty out before realizing she's injured herself in the process. Still dressed in her wedding gown, Lucy bravely fights off the raiders, but they overpower the vault residents in a desperate move. Moldiver offers a grim choice: spare Lucy or sacrifice several others. From the vault during this, Hank, Lucy's father, makes the heartbreaking decision to sacrifice himself to save his daughter. He's tranquilized and taken away to the real world. Meanwhile, inside the vault, the survivors convened for an emergency meeting. Lucy insists on organizing a search party to find her father, but the others refuse eventually. Norman helps Lucy open the door, allowing her to step out into the new world. She's stunned by the devastation around her as corpses litter the ground and the landscape is barren. However, they're near the coastline, offering a glimpse of beauty amid the destruction. Then we meet Maximus, a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, an organization striving to restore order to the world. Maximus is criticized by his teacher Felix for his lack of knowledge and is reprimanded when he speaks out of turn. Maximus feels like an outsider in this world, especially when his friend D&E is promoted to venture into the wilderness, while he's left behind. To make matters worse, his fellow recruits in the Brotherhood of Steel bully him, relentlessly treating him poorly. The next day, Dana is injured when razor blades are found in her boot. Suspicion falls on Maximus and he's taken away for questioning, although he secretly wishes for Danny's misfortune. Maximus maintains his innocence. He confesses that he wants to prove himself to the Brotherhood and become one of them, willing to do whatever it takes. Surprisingly, Maximus is promoted to Danny's position as a squire, which is a step closer to acceptance within the Brotherhood. When he visits D&E, she reveals that she defended him, believing he wouldn't harm anyone. After hearing this, Maximus feels a pang of guilt, but is grateful for her support, now officially part of the Brotherhood. Maximus and his comrades are briefed on their next mission to catch a fugitive from the Enclave who possesses a dangerous object. They're outfitted in knight armor and set out on their mission to stop the escaped denizen at all costs. News of the Brotherhood's mission spreads, even to the far-off wilderness, catching the attention of a group of bandits, led by Slim and Honcho. They seek out a hidden figure known as the Ghoul, who turns out to be none other than Cooper, the Lasso Master, from the beginning of the movie. Cooper, now known as the Ghoul, easily defeats the raiders with his expert shooting skills and quietly slips away, leaving behind a trail of defeated enemies. We're introduced to a new character, Weeg, who works for the Enclave. He's part of a group of scientists working on breeding top-notch dogs. Unfortunately, if the newborn pups don't meet a certain weight requirement, they're put down. Wilzig seems to be up to something shady, especially when he injects himself with a mysterious pill. His favorite dog, CX-44, is his faithful companion Ray, since it was a pup. When another scientist discovers Weeg's actions and sounds the alarm, CX-44 protects its master by attacking the intruder. Wilzig seizes the opportunity to flee with CX-44. Into the wilderness, it is revealed that this dog is a valuable target pursued by both the Brotherhood and the Ghoul. While Lucy persists in her search for her father, she sets up camp for the night. Her fire catches the attention of Wilzig, who warns her about the dangers of drawing attention to herself. He advises her to adapt to the harsh reality of their world and suggests that her priorities may change as she grows accustomed to it. After delivering his warning, Sig disappears into the night, leaving Lucy to tend to her fire. Fortunately, nothing threatening approaches her camp. Meanwhile, Wilzig and 644 venture into an area contaminated with radioactive waste. The dog discovers a severed hand, indicating the presence of a dangerous creature nearby. This encounter coincides with Maximus, who finds himself tagging along with Knight Tidus on a mission. They reach the entrance of a cave armed with a large gun and head inside together. Titus instructs Maximus to search deeper into the cave for their target as Maximus explores the enemy. Unexpectedly appears behind Titus, who flees the cave, leaving Maximus to face the threat alone after a fierce battle. Maximus defeats the creature, but Titus continuously belittles him, fed up with the insults. Maximus decides not to save Titus, and instead plans to take his armor and capture the target himself to prove his worth. The next morning, Lucy arrives at an abandoned house seeking directions. The owner informs her that the nearby city of Philly is just over the hill, but warns her of its dangers when he mentions he hasn't seen her father either. He suggests becoming a father figure to Lucy's children, despite his offer to sell her the rundown house. Lucy politely declines. Later, Lucy finds herself in the same woods as Maximus and follows a group of people to Philly. While there, she catches the attention of the Ghoul, who watches her from a distance at a nearby shop. Lucy inquires about mold, which immediately changes the shopkeeper's demeanor. She warns Lucy to leave, indicating that staying will only bring trouble upon her. After leaving the shop, Lucy encounters Wilzig once again, who warns her about the drastic differences between the world above ground and life in the vaults. However, their conversation attracts the attention of the Ghoul, who decides to take advantage of the situation by pointing out the bounty on Weeg's head. Majan, the shop owner, reveals that she's been paid a significant amount of bottle caps to ensure Weeg's safe passage to Philly. Without waiting for a response, the Ghoul shoots off. Weeg's foot, after this chaos, erupts in town over the bounty on the Ghoul's head. Meanwhile, Lucy sneaks into the shop and finds Moldover name in Jun's logbook. As she searches further, she spots a gun hanging on the wall and decides to take it for herself, as Lucy faces off against the Ghoul outside the shop. Maximus arrives just in time, wearing his armor shielding her from a fatal blow, while Maximus and the Ghoul engage in a fierce battle in the main square. Lucy and June team up to bring Weeg inside for safety. With the help of June's associate Barb, Weeg's injured leg is treated with a metal prosthetic, allowing him to recover. Meanwhile, Maximus struggles to control his suit, realizing he needs to improve his skills through additional challenges. As for the ghoul, he tends to CX 4004's injuries after initially harming the dog using a stim pack to heal him. The ghoul plans to use the dog's keen sense of smell to track down Weeg deep in the wilderness. Lucy and Wilzig make significant progress. However, Wilzig ultimately chooses to end his life by consuming a serum before passing away. He instructs Lucy to take his head to Moldover and change the future. In a flashback, we glimpse Cooper's life before the nuclear war. He's on a movie set for a Western, but he's unsure about the script's direction, particularly the scene where he's supposed to kill a criminal. Cooper voices his concerns to the director, who explains that the scriptwriter was fired due to his communist beliefs, and they're now aiming for a new America theme back in the present. The ghoul finally catches up to Wilzig, accompanied by CX 4004. However, they only find the severed remains of their target, determined to find Lucy. The ghoul follows her trail, suspecting she's headed towards the city. Meanwhile, Lucy presses on through the wilderness, drawing closer to the irradiated city on the horizon. Ignoring Wig's advice, she lights a fire late at night. As she examines Wig's head, she notices something peculiar on the side of his neck. Meanwhile, Maximus is forced to impersonate Titus over the radio to calm down his superior, who is worried about their progress. However, when Maximus mistakenly mentions that his squire has died, he quickly realizes his error and destroys the radio to cover his tracks in his attempt to repair the armor. Maximus ends up losing some teeth and spends more bottle caps than he had planned. Returning to the armor, Maximus is ambushed by raiders who severely beat him. Despite the odds, he manages to regain control of the situation, using the Brotherhood armor to crush one of the raiders' skulls. However, more enemies arrive, forcing Maximus to don the armor and pretend to be Titus. To his surprise, Thaddeus, one of Maximus's former bullies, arrives as the new squire with a message from the elder cleric. The message emphasizes the importance of their mission, as the target they are pursuing holds the key to controlling the wasteland. Meanwhile, Lucy finds herself facing a mutant on the coastline, but she puts up a fierce fight. However, the ghoul arrives and holds her at gunpoint. In the chaos, Will Sig's head is stolen by a mutant called a Gulper. The ghoul recognizes the danger posed by this creature back in the vault. Ched is reassigned from his role as gatekeeper, while Norman is given menial tasks, including tending to the raiders in the jail cells. Then, to release the ghouls trapped in cages, but some have already turned into zombies. During this, Lucy is compelled to defend herself by killing one of the zombified women as the sole survivor. Lucy leaves behind some vials for the ghoul outside, firmly asserting that she refuses to become like him. Meanwhile, the ghoul discovers a stash of vials inside the mart and helps himself. Among the items, he finds a video of Cooper from his movie days, which he settles down to watch Maximus and Thaddeus celebrate the recovery of Will Sig's head, and Thaddeus insists on being officially branded as Titus's squire. Maximus complies, branding the T on his back before revealing his true identity. Thaddeus is shocked and tries to escape, but Maximus stops him by crushing his foot with his armor. Thaddeus removes the fusion core from the suit, leaving Maximus trapped inside with limited air. Suddenly, some radroaches begin to attack the armor, but Lucy arrives just in time to fend them off in exchange for some rataway to treat her radiation poisoning. Lucy helps Maximus out of the armor, despite her distrust of surface dwellers. Lucy decides to trust Maximus, and it proves to be the right choice, although she passes out shortly afterward. Meanwhile, Norman and Chet explore Vault 32 to uncover why Rose's pit boy would have opened the gate. they discover more dead bodies. At the gate to Vault 31, indicating an attempt to enter a message in blood on the wall, suggests that someone knew what was inside Vault 31 when they return. Betty is suspicious of them, but doesn't confront them directly when Lucy wakes up with a ratawaiuria in her arm. She finds Maximus hiding his armor beneath metal and blankets. They agree to work together to retrieve Weeks. Lucy has a tracker to locate it, and in return she wants help from the Brotherhood to rescue her father in Vault 33. The election takes place with Betty, Woody, and Reggie as candidates. Despite Reg's presence on the ballot, everyone seems to be voting for Betty. Meanwhile, as Lucy and Max walk along some railroad tracks, she asks about the history of the surface world. Over the past 200 years, Max mentions bombs being dropped when he was a kid, hinting at more bombings after 2077. Lucy recalls memories of being outside with her mom in the sunlight, but dismisses them as nostalgia, as she's been told she never left the vault on the other hand. Norman continues his research in the Vault 33 archives and discovers a pattern. Almost every member who came from Vault 31 in trades ended up becoming overseer of Vault 33, including Betty. The election results confirm Betty's victory with 98% of the votes. Meanwhile, Lucy and Max encountered two suspicious individuals on a bridge. Both parties claim to be unarmed, but it's a lie. They agree to let each other pass, but the strangers attempt to ambush them. Max defends himself, and Lucy, revealing the strangers to be friends, planning to harm them. After this, Lucy expresses her disdain for the surface world, saying, "I hate it up here back in the vault." Woody, disappointed by the election results. Here's the saying, when things are glum, vote for someone from Vault 31. This aligns with Norman's findings, suggesting a connection between Vault 31 and 33. Chad dismisses it as a clever slogan, but Norman suspects there's more to it. Meanwhile, Chad is preoccupied with Stephanie and their newborn baby. When Norman asks about the differences in Vault 31, Stephanie only recalls that the mashed potatoes there were a little better, echoing what Norman's dad used to say. Meanwhile, Max and Lucy arrive at the location where Shady Sands once stood, and Max recounts the history of the new California Republic and the cities that emerged after the war. Lucy thought, Reclamation Day was postponed to rebuild civilization, but Max explains that civilization had already begun before the Vault Dwellers emerged. Shady Sands, once a bustling town with over 30,000 residents, was destroyed by bombing several years ago, leaving behind a massive crater. Lucy asked what happened. Max explains that disagreements about how to save the world led to its destruction. He reveals that he survived the blast as a child by hiding in an old refrigerator and was later rescued by a knight from the Brotherhood. However, Max is injured from the earlier encounter with the fiends, and they search for medical supplies in an old lab when they suddenly fall through a trapdoor in Vault 33. Betty announces plans to renovate Vault 32. The entire community visits. Vault 32, now cleaned and repainted after Norman and Chet's exploration. Betty's resettlement plan involves half of Vault 33's residents moving to Vault 32 to rebuild it. During this, Norman notices the Overseer's terminal, which he used to learn about his mother's pit boy, has been destroyed, suspecting a larger deception. Norman questions Betty about his mother's pit boy, and she assures him it was buried with her alongside Hank. This confirms Norm's suspicions of a cover-up in the vault. Meanwhile, Lucy and Max wake up in another vault, filling Lucy with hope for their survival. Then we see Cooper Howard's advertisement for Vault 4 play against the black and white background, highlighting its occupation by scientists with a total of 80 individuals conducting a 5-year trial. This hints at where Maximus and Lucy might be, but the focus is on Cooper, who is enjoying his role as the face of Vault-Tec, and living the high life. Snip's voice is revealed to belong to Bartholomew Cosworth, an old friend of Cooper who sold his voice rights for this purpose. He emphasizes the idea that the end of the world is a marketable product and they need to be prepared to capitalize on it as war looms closer. Cooper becomes disillusioned with the situation while those around him believe in the safety of the vaults and strive to secure a place for themselves. Cooper, who fought in the war to defend freedom, sees the vault's conformity strict rules like no dogs and blue jumpsuits as infringing upon that freedom. Even his wife Barb is trying to secure a spot in one of the vaults for their family in the present. The ghoul finds himself captured by government agents who take him to their leader, Sorrel. Despite being caught, the ghoul manages to reattach his severed finger. As they converse, the ghoul mentions Moldiver, whom Sorrow considers extremely dangerous. When Sorrow lets his guard down, the ghoul swiftly eliminates him in his subordinates. Cooper recognizes Moldiver from a wanted poster in the bar, recalling her as his biggest fan from flashbacks. Meanwhile, Lucy and Maximus are treated in the vault and told they'll be observed for a few hours to ensure they're free of radiation. Lucy, unaware of the situation, suggests they wait it out and casually proposes Intim why, but Maximus declines. Their room is labeled test subjects, hinting at something ominous. They meet the overseer, who seems to have an interest in them. It becomes apparent that many vault residents are some sort of hybrid humans. Lucy questions the overseer about level 12, which he earlier mentioned was off limits. He abruptly ends the conversation and orders her to leave after she mentions it, spitting out his drink in surprise. Maximus, meanwhile, enjoys the amenities of the vault, including a hot shower and access to standard Fallout gear like sugar bombs. He's directed to Unit 428, where he finds supplies and comforts. On the other hand, Lucy discovers a model of Shady Sands in a timeline on a chalkboard, revealing that the vault is now under the control of the new Californian Republic. This realization is underscored by the familiar Fallout theme, adding depth to the moment. During a meeting, Lucy and the other vault dwellers are introduced to a surface dweller tradition involving worshipping the Flammy Mother through ritualistic activities like covering themselves in ashes and drinking blood. Lucy is disturbed by the ritual, feeling out of place. Determined to uncover the truth, Lucy heeds to floor 12, where she encounters resistance from a scientist named Beardy. Despite her efforts, Lucy is caught, leaving Maximus unaware of the unfolding events. As he remains in his room, we see two wanderers searching for something with metal detectors. These are the lead farmers, but they return home to find the ghoul in their kitchen, much to the father's displeasure. Despite his annoyance, he agrees to answer Cooper's questions. They reveal that their son Tommy is involved with Mold's crew, believing in her mission to fix the world. Unfortunately, Tommy's involvement has led to tragedy, with their eldest son, Rufus, being killed by the ghoul. Tommy reluctantly discloses that Moldiver is at the observatory before being shot by the ghoul in the past. Cooper clashes with Moldiver, who reveals her knowledge of Cooper's wife Barb. Moldiver seeks revenge against Vault-Tec and wants Cooper's help. She explains the ongoing resource war and her belief that those not aligned with communism are insane. Cooper bugs his wife's pit boy to investigate further. Meanwhile, Lucy is handcuffed in Vault 4 and shown footage of the scientists, including Overseer Hawthorne, being attacked by a gulper. The Vault's experiments involve hybridizing humans with radioactive resistant species to withstand high radiation. However, it is revealed that the experiments went awry, resulting in the death of the scientists. As Lucy faces judgment in Vault 4, Maximus intervenes to rescue her, shutting down the fusion cores and donning his Brotherhood armor to confront the Vault's inhabitants. However, Lucy persuades him to return the stolen core, and they decide to leave together to find Will's head. Meanwhile,
Thaddeus, having left CX-44 behind, seeks medical assistance at a pharmacy in exchange for a fusion corp. The doctor heals him, but inadvertently turns him into a ghoul in the process. As Thaddeus awaits his ride outside the pharmacy, he is unexpectedly impaled through the neck. Lucy and Maximus arrive just in time to witness the attack, realizing the doctor's treatment has transformed thus, with the ghoul and CX-44 closing in. Lucy and Maximus face a new threat and must decide their next move carefully. Meanwhile, as Norman delves deeper into Vault 31, he is confronted with shocking sights. The vault appears deserted, with signs of struggle and decay evident everywhere. Norman cautiously explores further, uncovering clues that hint at the true nature of the vault's inhabitants. Maximus returns to the Brotherhood, but things don't go smoothly when he presents the wrong head to the Elder. However, D&E stands up for him. Showing loyalty, Maximus reveals the truth and offers to lead them to a valuable relic. The Elder sees potential in Maximus and agrees to his plan. Meanwhile, Lucy finds her father alive in Mold's base and offers her food in exchange for his release. Moldiver agrees but wants something in return. Hank tries to stop Lucy from listening, as Moldiver reveals that he wasn't born in the vault. Meanwhile, Norman discovers a brain in a jar in Vault 31, which has 50% of Hank's DNA but isn't Betty. He also finds something called buds, which are test tube babies created to sustain humanity in the past. Cooper learns that Vault-Tec is plotting against the world by orchestrating the apocalypse to ensure their survival. Barb suggests using interconnected vaults as scientific experiments for humanity's salvation in the three vaults. Vault 31 houses executives in cryogenic freezing, while Vaults 32, 2, and 33 serve as breeding pools for selectively chosen companions. These individuals are genetically engineered to breed with the buds to create a class of supermanagers who will inherit the Earth after wiping the surface clean. This revelation aligns with the shocking truth that the government intentionally dropped the bombs to establish a monopoly. Hank Lucy's father was actually Barb's new assistant, and his conversation with Barb reveals the truth about the government's actions. After this, Barb's words echo the iconic line from Fallout games. War never changes in the present. Danny confesses that they harmed themselves with a razor blade out of fear of going into the wilderness. As for Mold's motives for taking Hank, it all traces back to Lucy's mother. Rose suspected that something was diverting water away from the vaults, hinting at a possible return of civilization on the surface. Hank dismissed her theory, leading to their rift in Rose's departure in search of the truth. Therefore, Lucy's childhood story about feeling the sun's warmth was not just a tale, it was a memory she and Norman actually lived outside the vaults with their mother Rose until Hank arrived and destroyed the city, forcing them into the vaults. This dark past sheds light on Vault-Tec's ruthless tactics to eliminate competition. Now Hank and Moldiver want Lucy's allegiance, but the revelation about Rose's fate adds a new dimension to the conflict. During this, we see Rose turned into a ghoul as she sits at the table, disproving the story of her burial concocted by Betty. And Hank, it is revealed, but that the cold fusion inside Sig's neck holds the key to restarting civilization. As Lucy prepares to activate the power alarms, Blair signaling the arrival of the Brotherhood. This impending threat adds urgency to Lucy's decision as the Brotherhood clashes with the NCR. Lucy realizes the timeless truth that war never changes. The ghoul, capitalizing on the chaos, exploits the Brotherhood's vulnerabilities and swiftly dispatches their soldiers. Amid the darkness and confusion, Maximus arrives, freeing Hank from captivity. However, tensions rise when Maximus learns of Hank's role in the tragedy at Shady Sands. In a surprising turn, Hank dons Brotherhood armor, incapacitates Maximus, and demands Lucy's compliance, unwilling to surrender. Lucy arms herself, but before the situation escalates, the ghoul intervenes. Cooper confronts Hank for answers about his missing family, but Hank escapes, leaving more questions than answers. Cooper proposes teaming up with Lucy to uncover the truth behind Hank's actions and confront their creators. During this, Lucy mercifully ends her mother, Rose's suffering, before joining the gunslinger on their quest, with a kiss to an unconscious Maximus Lucy, bids farewell and sets off. Meanwhile, Norman, trapped in Vault 31, contemplates his fate with no apparent escape. He reluctantly prepares to enter cryogenic sleep. The focus then shifts back to Maximus, who awakens amidst the aftermath of the conflict with Mold's final act. She activates the cold fusion, restoring power to the nearby city. Before succumbing to her wounds during this, Dan arrives on the scene and mistakenly believes Maximus to be her killer, praising him as a hero. Now Maximus begins to question his loyalties elsewhere. Lucy and the gunslinger reach Hollywood, pressing forward on their journey. Meanwhile, Hank finds refuge in the iconic settlement of New Vegas. This is where the series ends.